What's going on, everybody? This is Ed Phillips with DMG Gaming Podcast. Today we're going to go over a Valby build. Basically, this is going to be a farming build. It also can do bosses and other things, but we'll show you that later on in the video. First to start, you can make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and like the video. You can check a lot of our other socials out. Starting from YouTube at DMG Gaming Podcast. We also have Twitter, which is also at DMG Gaming Podcast or DMG Gaming Pod. And then you also have, we have TikTok at DMG Gaming Pod and Twitch at DMG Gaming Pod. All right, so let's get to it. All right, first we're going to go over the Descendant Modules for Valby, the recommended ones. The first one so the first one you see in the skill slot is Supply Moisture. You don't actually need this for the build, but it does make it a lot more powerful. For the beginning, I would ensure to have HP Collector and also increase HP. We're not going to go defense, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But those are the two main ones we want for survivability. You can choose any mod in this slot. I just go with the longer grappling hook, and you want to make sure you level it up because it does increase your module capacity. What else we can go for first is skill cooldown. I have MP conversion here, and I also have nimble fingers. We do want skill cooldown because the whole point of this build is to always be utilizing cleanup, the skill cleanup. And you'll always be in this skill. And we want the skill cooldown and duration to be very close to one another. Now, this skill does have 2 maximum stacks, so you can use it pretty much consistently. You should never actually be out of this skill at any time. And the reason we also don't do defense in any of our mods is due to the fact that this skill gives us 50% damage reduction while we're in it. So for 6.8 seconds, I have 50% damage reduction. And again, you're going to be utilizing the skill the entire time, farming, and you will never be out of it. So you will have that 50% damage reduction from all damage the entire time. So you got your skill cooldowns, and we also do skill duration with skill extension and expansion. Expansion is important because we do want that water to spread as far as possible, so enemies are inside it. It helps when you're doing all the other events, including dungeons and everything else. So make sure you guys do that. Now, as you see on the right-hand side, you don't have to pick these until I would not go this route with emergency measures, like with the crit rate and front lines for the crit damage until you do get Supply Moisture. Again, you don't need it, but it does make this build even more op. And I'll show you where to farm this right now. So let's go to our map, and we're going to go to... All right, so what you can do is go to Module, and then we can just type in Moisture. And you'll see this. Now let's get the acquisition info. Now you can just go. This is where I farmed it at. I actually only took me three times to defeat this boss. But if we go here, you'll see that it is this one over here. It requires 37 polymer and 8 organic. So if you actually go up, if you have a Descendant that does a chill, basically Viessa, you can actually do this one here and just farm it. I farmed it enough to get like 10 tries of this fusion reactor, and I farmed 10 times the amount of materials to try it 10 times, and I got on my 3rd try. So you can try here, or again, you can just go back to Access Info, go to Supply Moisture, and just find any of these other places if you want to try to farm it there. But the best one I'd found, I mean, it was a quick drop for me. I got pretty lucky, was that one area. Okay, now let's go back to the modules. Again, if you don't have supply moisture, you can go put maybe a HP increase one for one of these. I would recommend probably either this one, HP amplification, or even this one, because it increases the skill duration and max HP by quite a bit. It's up to you what you want to do. So again, these first two, the HP collector, increase HP, are the most important ones just for that survivability. You'll be killing things so fast that your HP will just be at max almost the entire time. And plus, you'll have that 50% damage reduction from utilizing the skill and the uptime of the skill the entire time. All right. Now let's go to weapon. All right, for the weapon. Oh, there's actually one other thing I want to show. Okay, so the supply moisture. Now this is pretty crazy. All right, so let me use our cleanup. As you see, if I'm just, you'll be utilizing cleanup. You're always in the puddle, no matter where you go. You're always in water. Now, let's take a look at how much this increases our crit rate for our skills. Usually, without this being active, my crit rate is only usually 8%. While being in a puddle and with supply moisture, your crit rate is going up to 44% with all the other modifiers that you have from your modules. So that's the huge deal about that one is, and something I do recommend getting eventually once you get to it. All right, so now let's go do the weapon. All right, I found that the easiest one, like my favorite weapon for Valby and for most of the Descendants I do, for most content, especially farming builds, is Thundercage. And I'll actually show you a boss fight later on in the video just utilizing this build without changing anything. But Thundercage is easy to get the materials to upgrade the unique ability on it. And again, the unique ability is quite awesome because due to the fact that we can, if you take a look at what it does at max level, it has a 100% trigger rate for this electric shockwave AOE, and the radius is at 5 meters, and it multiplies off everything you have on your gun. So basically when that AOE triggers after killing an enemy, you're doing a lot of damage to the surrounding enemies, especially if you're triggering off a weak point hit. Now let's go back to the mods. All right, so for mods, most important ones you want first on this weapon is action and reaction, fire rate up, and your rifling reinforcement. That increases all your firearm or attack power and the speed at which you're shooting the bullets. Sweeping squad you don't need now, but eventually I would get it later on. Other important ones are like your critical hit damage. Your critical hit damage again with better concentration and better insight for the critical hit rate. Now, as you see, my critical hit rate for this weapon currently is at 30% just for the weapon now, and 6-point modifier for crit damage. Also, I have weak point sight on here for the 35% increased weak point damage, and that raises it up to 1.6. Eventually, you can get the insight focus. That'll be later on once you get enough module capacity. And then go into sweeping squad for that guaranteed chance of getting up to 30, I think around 31% additional firearm attack for 5 seconds. And this is just constant, especially when you're mowing down groups of enemies. But those are all the mods for the weapons. Again, I recommend these 3 first and then just build off there. Now, for this one, I did reload modifier due to the fact that concentration priority actually increase or decreases the reload speed. So I wanted to increase the reload speed just by basically nullifying this out. You could instead go with like an expanded magazine, which can take your rounds from 26 to around, I think, 38 rounds per magazine. I think it's 36 to 38. But you can do that instead if you just want more bullets and just a slower reload time. But I just did Recycling Genius. It's up to you what you want to do there. All right, now if you see So our crit rate was 30% on the weapon and 6.0 on thing. But if you actually pull up your character stats, the actual firearm critical rate I'm going for right now is 33% and 6.6 crit hit damage modifier. So this weapon is doing a ton of damage. It's an awesome weapon. It's so easy to get the materials. I recommend farming this out and getting this unique up max first, because you can use it on all your descendants, and it's one of the best farming weapons in the game, if not the best. And for when it comes to your stats you want to add to the weapon, I would go with the firearm critical hit damage, due to the fact the weapon does have high crit damage. Hit rate, weak point damage, and firearm attack. Now, those aren't god rolls by any means, but they're good enough. All right, so we've done the weapon, we've done the Descendant mods. Now let's take a look at what we want when it comes to our Reactor. All right, for the Reactor, we can go with we're going with the Thundercage, and we're doing non-attribute and dimension. Because we want our cleanup, which is the third skill there at the bottom, we want the cleanup to be hitting the hardest as it can. Now, when it comes to those extra skills at the bottom there, when it comes to like skill critical hit damage, that's good if you have moisture. But anything that has skill costs, we don't really care about. This is just the only role I'm going with now. I'll probably farm something later that has something else like dimension skill power increase or something. Or even duration. But so you want something to do with skills as your extra modifiers on your Reactor. Okay, now when it comes to farming, this is what we have right now. When it comes to farming for our auxiliary power, I'm going with the Kuiper Shard drop rate increase. And I'm also like mixing it with some HP and defense just for the survivability. But the most important one on here for farming is Kuiper Shard drop rate increase. If I'm not using that, I'm not farming, doing bossing or something like that, I'll do like mostly HP. And, of course, the resistance on the each of these pieces of gear. For the sensor, I'm going with consumable drop rate increase. That goes when you're farming, you want this like as priority due to the fact it drops everything that's a consumable, including, your health and magic refills, and but it also drops like your sensors and your basically to open up vaults and stuff like that. It has a chance to drop more, as you see here. Your ultra precision code breakers and your other code breakers that you see in your consumables tab. You do want these that modifiers just so more of these drop when you're actually farming around in different zones and stuff, collecting materials. All right, let's go back to this. For this one, I'm just doing defense and max HP and some, of course, electric resistance. And the same thing here, I got my max HP and toxin resistance. And that's just what I have. I really need something besides the max shield. I'm not really worried about the max shield. Now, for farming, you can try to farm for the set from the, I think it's the Devourer. For the skill duration and the firearm attack, but we're not going to be losing a lot of HP doing farming, so there's no point in going for those skill set bonuses while farming. So anything that kind of has these kind of stats for farming is fine, and you'll be fine, with at least mostly HP. We're not stacking a lot of defense due to the fact of her cleanup skill giving that 50% damage reduction. And as you see here, now she's level 1 because I just redid some of her modules. I did a module increase, her capacity increase, so her health is low now, but it gets up to 12,000 with just what I have on when she's level 40. But you can actually farm at level 1 with this setup right now with no issues. All right, so that's all of our equipment. For weapons, I just go with stuff that I need to work on mastery with, like proficiency level. You can choose whatever secondary weapons you want. It doesn't matter. Whatever ones you need to level up for your mastery. Okay, now that's everything when it comes to equipment. We've done our Descendant modules and weapons modules. All right, so now I'm going to show you guys kind of a basically the farming where I do most of my farming at. Now this farming area, every every time you do it like 5 times, I get around, I'd say, 150,000 Kuiper. That's not including the mods that you can dismantle. Around 150,000 Kuiper every 5 runs. And I get around 1.5 million gold every 5 runs. And it's pretty quick, and it's a lot of gear that drops that you can dismantle and get more components for like stuff you need to research. All right, so I do have all the buffs. So if you don't have the buffs, then you're going to get around, I say, 100,000 Kuiper every 5 runs in this farming spot I'm about to show you, and about 1 million gold. So it's still good regardless if you don't have the buffs or not. It's still going to give you a lot of materials and everything like that. All right, so let's show you the farming spot real quick. So we are currently in sterile land, and what we're going to do is just take I would recommend before you start, just put it on private, because some people don't know the farm spot, or they'll kill the boss too quick. And this is what I'm about to show you, how we're going to farm it. So make sure you set your server to private first, so you don't have to worry about other people, ruining your farming during this reactor farm. Okay, so again, we take this teleporter at the repository, and we're heading up here to the Volga Strategic Outpost. But basically, this farm is really easy on Valby. She's made for it, and this farm is like perfect for her. So all we're going to do, we have our Thundercage equipped. We're going to go in, take this out. We're just going to move around. Make sure you clearing enemies as you go. Just keep your health up. All right, that's the second reactor. Then we'll go to this third one to activate the boss. As soon as we do that, we're going into our cleanup skill, and we're just going to go around, kill all these enemies, and we're going to create a path all around, like in a circle, the entire way around. And here in a second, the rest of the mobs are going to just start spawning consistently, but they're going to immediately die because you're putting the cleanup puddles down on the ground. And again, we're just moving in a circle all the way around. We're not paying attention to the boss right now. Don't worry about killing the boss, because as soon as if he does sit in your puddles, he's just going to spawn those spheres around him, and he won't take any damage. So for now, we're not going to touch the boss until later. We're just going to keep farming. And as you're farming, killing enemies, make sure just to pick up stuff. Your Kuipers on the ground, just so you don't have to worry about all that later. You can just keep going in a line and grabbing everything you need. And as you see, we're just spamming clean up the entire time. About the minute mark, we're going to get him into his phase where he has his spheres that spawn above him. Let's get that. And even when you're killing him right here, you can actually, your puddles are still up. They have a 20-second duration. All right, his sphere's up, so he's immune to damage. But yeah, so, the puddles will stay up for 20 seconds. They're just, you see that crit damage at 44%. You're always in a puddle, so your supply moisture skill mod is just wrecking everything. And honestly, this Valby to me is better than Bunny when it comes to a lot of things. First off, she's not as squishy as Bunny is, things, your puddles last so long, you can just pretty much fill an entire area of water and things just drop. Now Bunny can increase her AOE size, but at the end of the day, this is just easy mode and you're not going to die. We just let that run out. Okay, Now, this is what you can do. You can actually do this and just let the mission run out. But after the most recent patch, the mission is only down for like a minute between like once you actually beat the boss. So what we can do is actually kill the boss, clean up your inventory, and then just restart it as soon as the timer comes out. But let's do it again, and this time we're going to beat the boss. Again, we're just running through, killing enemies as we go. Get the reactors. All right, now we're going into cleanup. Let's get all these enemies out, clear the middle out. All right, now we can begin our circle. But basically all you do is you want to get the boss into, we actually can get him in now. You can get him to you can really get him into the sphere mode anytime. All right, so he's got his spheres up. He's immune to damage. Now you want to wait till about the 45-second mark to take those spheres out, so he can be damaged again. And then you want to start killing him around the 15-second mark. Now, if you don't have a strong weapon or your build isn't maxed out, you can actually just adjust the time and when you need to start DPSing them. So my Thundercage is pretty strong, so he's probably going to just melt him. And our inventory is already maxed, as you can see. Look at all these drops. Oh, I need to change my weapon back to Thundercage. Okay, so it's about the minute mark. Let's go ahead and drop his spheres. All right, spheres are down. Now he's going to start taking damage again. And we'll wait till about, look at all this gear. Yeah, we'll wait till about the 15-second mark to DPS him down. It's just an insane amount of gear. Insane amount of Kuipers. It's like almost 25k to 30k a run of Kuiper. And then you, of course, your mods that you can dismantle. It's just ridiculous. All right, so let's start DPSing them down. There we go. All right, we're going to wait a second. My puddles are still up and things are still dying. So now let's kill them. All right. And you can get like the bonuses for killing them. And as you see, look, it's only a minute long wait time that you have to do. So you can take this time to actually clean up your inventory. Let's kill this guy. So you can clean up your inventory. All right. And now let's go around and collect everything. The Kuipers, gold, all that stuff, gear. Grab all this. All right, now we can go in this corner. Go ahead and clean up your gear before it starts again. All right, and it's basically rinse and repeat now. You can just keep doing it this way. Or you don't even have, you can just fail the mission and go right back into it and for even quicker. The only thing is that your inventory will fill up rather quickly, like every 1 or 2 runs, honestly. All right, so that's the farm. Now you can actually do, now if you want to do bosses, like you don't have to change anything on this build, farming build, to do like a hard mode boss. The easiest hard mode boss to do, of course, is the Devourer. If we go over here to the Seneca and select Devourer, and we'll do this, and I'll show you in the video. It's not going to be like your Glay builds that can do it in like 30 seconds. It's not going to be like Freyja that can do it also really fast, or even Lepic, who can do it really, really fast. This is going to be about a 2-minute fight with just our farming build stuff equipped. And I'll show you the survivability of it also, between, killing the ads that he spawns, if you need to collect health items to, increase your health. You're basically going from point A to point B throughout the entire fight when you need to, utilizing your cleanup ability, because you're taking, again, 50% reduced damage the entire time. So it's a really effective way in killing these bosses. It's just not going to be as quick as other builds. All right, so let's go into the boss video. Can do bosses very well. All right, so let's go ahead and enter. All right, so what we're going to do is just once we get close to the boss, we're just going to go over and basically use our cleanup as soon as the boss is active. All right, so boss is about to come out. All we're going to do is start doing cleanup now. Put a little bit of damage on him. It's not going to be a lot, but there's a point to this. All right, we're just going to target his knees for now and just like hit as many weak points as we can. Take those out. As you see, the Thundercage is just a ridiculous amount of damage. And even if it's this farming build, we're not taking a lot of damage. Now, of course, this would be different in group play. We might want to add more HP or maybe some more defense. And our toxin resistance is already at around, I think, 3,000. All right, so he's transitioning. We just want to use our cleanup to go to these barrels to kill them. You just want to travel utilizing cleanup between each barrel. And to the next one. All right, and now we're just going back at the weak spots. Again, this is not going to be as fast as Glay or Lepic and those other ones, but it's still pretty good for a farming build. And that's it. All right, guys, that's the video. Thanks for joining. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. So, again, this is pretty easy build, but I mean, it's really op when it comes to farming. As you can see, it can do bosses rather easily, especially with that damage reduction increase. So that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining us. Also, you can catch our podcasts out. Me and my friend Grant run this channel. You can check our other content out, but mainly our podcasts that were released twice a week. Check those out too. Thanks, guys. See you later.